James Angleton, the way you spin that story round. Always sharp, just like a tack when you're tracking the price of the dollar and pound. But drop the narrative, that thing that you inherited. Your history homos chariot just pulled up outside. Scott, William, Patrick on the scene, they're breaking up the subroutine. Something's crackling in your brain, MK Ultra make you go insane. Hey, don't you know we're only on the case for a good time, baby? Took a rose pill, now I'm reading these books for a long time, baby. Honey pots and psyop traps, you can trust the plan until you snap. Slop conspiracy everywhere. History homos clear the air. Close your eyes, what's truth or lie? Hiding in the space between. Reality's a tangled scene. Tune in, you'll know what I mean. Close your eyes, what's truth or lie? Hiding in the space between. Reality's a tangled scene. Tune in, you'll know what I mean. Hey, history homos only on the case for a good time, baby. Took a roach pill, now I'm reading these books for a long time, baby.
And we're live. Welcome back to the show. Patrick and I this week are going to be discussing the Phoenix program.
Good morning, Vietnam. Sorry, I've been holding that in.
You startled me a little bit. Now I hope you don't. I hope you don't like hang yourself now.
All right. I'd rather hang myself than be like Forrest Whitaker in that movie and turn the key in an already started car.
Right.
Is there a
I
term?
don't know if I've seen that one, to be honest.
It's a good one.
I saw Robin Williams and I was like, I'm out.
Really, you're not a fan?
I don't care. I don't really care for Robin Williams, to be honest with you.
I'll be honest.
We're doing assassinations.
We're doing
It's a
cocaine in the
little
jungle.
bitty little Vietnamese guy here, and we're gonna be killing him with the car batteries.
Oh, I am a Vietnamese Robin Williams.
That's just him doing his act, just doing
Yeah.
a bunch of really shitty impressions. But it's really just him doing. Oh God, he
Ah,
sucks. Fuck
oh
Robin
man,
Williams.
no! Oh man, see. I appreciate that. That's coming from a guy, folks, who doesn't dance. All right,
Oh, now
all
we're bringing
right,
this. You're making this
yeah,
personal now.
yes. I'm coming at you,
I
bud.
said to this you in confidence, be off air. I said I don't dance, and this
Almost.
guy took took him a minute and 30 seconds to start divulging the something that I said to him in the privacy of our non-recorded conversation.
This man, this is a musician, folks. This man's an artist. He has the inclination. He
Fardist.
he's a fartist at the least, but he doesn't tap a toe. He doesn't move an inch. He's always listening to music. I tune in. I get him the thing here. He's got music going. It's
That's
always
true.
good.
Yeah, I mean,
Always good.
music is always around me. That's true.
But the man does not
You
budge.
don't,
He
Charlie
don't.
don't. It's Charlie don't surf, and I don't dance.
Charlie don't surf and Scott don't dance. That's so good.
Okay.
10-foot peaks. The thing is, Scott, though, you tell me that you don't dance, but you're coming from you. It doesn't mean much that, you don't believe in the whimsy of Robin Williams. I
Yeah,
appreciate
well, yes. Oh, is there a correlation between dancing and
I'm,
Robin Williams fandom?
I'm not even a fan so much as I appreciate
You're an
whimsy.
enjoyer. You're not a
Yeah,
fan. You're not the average Robin Williams fan. You're the typical Robin Williams enjoyer.
I inevitably watched a lot of his films growing up,
Fair, fair. I mean,
Jumanji,
we all have, obviously. I mean,
Mrs.
he's a cultural staple.
uh Mrs. Doubtfire, which was confusing.
Terrible movie.
Yeah, no. There's probably a lot.
Glorifies divorce.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, no. We'll stick to Good Morning Vietnam because I do
Yeah.
have a soft spot for films set in that time and place that are somewhat subversive, don't quite,
Yeah, America got to mourn its boomers got to like mourn like the 60s forever through like the Vietnam movie, self-critical Vietnam film phenomenon.
which I mean, it's funny, it kind of kicks off with I don't know, Deer Hunter was 70 what, 8,
Yeah,
I think.
that was shortly after the war.
And I'm sure there's
Uh
others even sooner than that.
yeah.
We think of Platoon, we think of even earlier with
A
Apocalypse Now.
Quiet American was like during Vietnam, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm unfamiliar.
Well, it was written as part of what's it called? Mockingbird. And it's about a
Shit.
see the guy who it's about is in the story, especially in the 50s part of like with the American overseer type era
Oh yeah.
of the conflict. But anyway, so we're talking about Phoenix program.
Welcome.
If you are in our sphere of discourse, you've heard of this at least. I want to start out by saying that I did entirely too much reading on this subject. I read two fucking 500-page books
Yes.
on it
Yes.
in a week and a half. And the reason why that happened was because I was talking to the Angels, aka the AI, about what book I should approach because everyone knows that there's a well-known book by Douglas Valentine,
Mm.
who's like an arch libtard, um, where it's sort of it's from the POV of someone who's very critical of Vietnam. So I guess I think this actually kind of reveals the biases of ChatGPT as a platform. I do want to say this because the AI, sort of put it to me that Douglas is a screeching libtard. You shouldn't take him, or Valentine's a screeching libtard. You shouldn't take him seriously. So you should read this book by Dale Andrade instead, which I did. I picked it up on the basis of this recommendation, thinking, oh, it's going to be less polemic. It's going to be because the book on the jacket itself, it's called Ashes to Ashes by Dale Andrade, says it ultimately refers to the Phoenix program as like a failure, and like the book is presupposing to sort of look back on it and go, what went wrong? And I assumed it would be a lot more critical of it, but it turns out to be poorly veiled apologia, to be put it mildly, I would say.
Yeah.
But I had to also give it credit because it is factual and it doesn't necessarily blink on the stuff that was wrong, but it sort of just morally justifies it all.
Yeah. No,
Is
this thing
and
is
it's still revelatory in
bloodless.
that sense. Go ahead,
This
sorry.
it's bloodless as a saltine cracker. This book.
Yeah.
It's so crazy. Like you say, yeah. Whatever went wrong, it's not we're not talking ethically, morally wrong. We're talking operationally,
Right.
logistically, this could have gone better. Is pretty
I
much
just that's the funny thing is because I think like everyone. So I don't want to jump around too much here, but I do want to
sure.
just we have to overarchingly frame this. We don't have definite verification or anything, but we have a pretty good idea that Michael Aquino was part of the Phoenix program to at least to some degree, and it was his experience in this program that ultimately led to the Mind War thesis, which is the idea that war should begin when firing hasn't even begun yet, and it should be a total global systemic regime essentially that makes revolution against the geopolitical and political aims impossible. And I think that so I think it's like it's insane that this Dale Andrade character was like, oh, if we had just done a little more, um
Yeah.
whatever, everything would have been hunky. You know what I mean? That's it's absurd to me that notion is even possible. And so, however, I do think that the Phoenix program, what they learned from it, is immediately relevant. So it's like almost like the crypsis. The crypsis of this statement is that they learned everything that is like it's Phoenix program ongoing, all, globally speaking. Like that's what we're living through is like a globalized version, or
Mm.
more specifically, a like nationally deployed Phoenix program in every country in the world that's under the regime which we are subject to essentially. Now, I know this sounds crazy, but we'll sort of make our case as we go through the history and like the details of it. But first, I want to say that we should sort of set the stage for people who aren't like super familiar with the Vietnam War. Would that be a safe way to start?
I would think so, at least why we're there, who was there.
Right.
There was a great part in the book where um, he basically stated that the Vietnamese have either been under Chinese or French occupation for hundreds of years.
Right.
There's hardly a Vietnamese structure to build upon there. So,
The Chinese specifically, as it was the Mongol Empire
hmm
actually is what conquered, actually created this entire Indochina area, like basically culturally and ethnically prior to the 1200s AD. Indochina, the Southeast Asia, was Indian. Did you
mm.
know that? And the ethnic cleansing that took place from the Chinese dominating it for the next 600 years was what changed them to look the way they do now, essentially. Did you know
Oh,
that? Isn't that an interesting detail? They're
that
literally like a sub race birthed out of imperial domination.
a blend, if you will,
Yeah.
like a good whiskey, which they're whiskey colored. Those people.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, but anyway, so you're right about that. Is that the Chinese dominated, and then the French in like the 1700s on became like a colonial hub, and then that it gets even worse too. Is because when the French surrendered to the Germans in World War II, the Vichy government authorized the Japanese essentially to take over
Mm.
Vietnam as well. And I think they were kind of rough shot. I think we're a little rough shot with them.
French Nazi Vietnamese. What a
Time
party.
to be alive. Yeah. But in the years after the World War II, this is when Ho Chi Minh, who is a Vietnamese nationalist who ascribed, in essence, to Marxist-Leninist um,
Mm.
political ideology. But I just want to make this really clear, by the way. When we were talking about China and the Chinese Civil War, they were Marxists. These guys are not, it's kind of hard to call them Marxists
Yeah.
as much, you know, because ultimately the entire, even the South Vietnamese government, which is nationalist and capitalist, air quotes, was comprised of people who were in the Viet Minh, which is the people who had fought against the French in like in the Revolution, essentially. But it was sort of similar to the Chinese Civil War, where the two factions broke off, like
Mm.
in yeah, two factions broke off essentially, and one was influenced by the Western powers like America, England, etc. Um, and the other was obviously influenced more by China and
Yeah.
Russia.
One has a cult of personality surrounding a, ideological, figure, and we just introduce a guy.
Yeah, and he was also the thing was interesting about is he was a religious minority. He's a Catholic.
Yeah.
Diem, the guy who was in charge, they picked a Catholic, and by the way, not to mention a piece of shit. By the way, who would religiously subjugate the majority. What a fucking! They have to do
Yeah.
this every time. By the
The
way,
bulls.
this is what always happens in like when the CIA sets up a fucking this is literally what they did in Cyprus. If you want to go back to our me and William Cyprus episode back in the day, they set the Turkish minority up as being like the government, and the majority who are Christian Greeks are like being brutalized on the daily by the Turkish dickheads put in charge, artificially given power by the fucking spookies.
Absurd.
And again, that's exactly what happens again here in Vietnam is this unpopular religious minority who are assholes to everybody else are put in charge, and they're possibly the most corrupt regime in history. Now, again, part of this goes back to Vietnamese culture. Remember, they're partly Indian. So there is just the tendency for rampant corruption to just take hold in any system.
Or a card game. Or some unregulated gambling.
Of course, they do love
It's
that. So yeah, they're part Chinese and part Indian. That's a recipe for fucking disaster, by the way.
yeah,
They're
don't leave
corrupt
these
gambling addicts. Yeah,
don't leave these people in a back room anywhere for any length of time.
I know.
Otherwise,
It shouts out to the Vietnamese, by the way. I want to make this clear. It's throughout this entire thing. Oh, this is the other thing I wanted to like
same.
get out is like ultimately Dale Andrade, the author of the fucking Ashes to Ashes book. By the way, I also read Douglas Valentine. I read literally both of the books because I couldn't stand how fucking bullshit this Dale Andrade character was,
So
whitewashing the entire thing.
you had to swing all the way back to the polar opposite bullshit.
And I feel pretty well informed on the subject now as a
Yeah,
result.
certainly.
But I just wanted to say this. For all Dale Andrade's fucking hand wringing and saying, "Oh, if only we had X, Y, or Z. Oh, if only they hadn't done Vietnamization."
Pacification. What a waste.
Seriously. The ultimate, you lost. You lose. You stole fizzy lifting drinks. Good day, sir.
Good day, sir.
This is the. And by the way, fucking Aquino will be the first to say this. By the way, he said, simply speaking, America could never win that mind war against the Vietnamese, the average in the mind of the average Vietnamese person. It was
Mm.
not possible, and there's for the reasons you'll see by the end of this episode. By the way,
As if the internal logic of a Vietnamese is 2 + 2 = 4, and we're trying to tell them it's 5.
it's a
Truly.
similar idea, yes. And then also the other, I don't want to like jump ahead to the end. No, we're not going to do that. Let's do some more history first, and then we'll get to my conclusions of the entire thing. So, the Viet Minh was a broadly supported non-ideological revolution that took place in the 1950s after World War II against the French government, French colonial government in Vietnam. And after the war, it was basically like a civil war essentially. And at that point, the two sides emerged. And but I should mention, by the fucking way, is that again, there's that Quiet American book, which is written by Graham Greene, and they made it into a movie, and it's Mockingbird. American CIA got in there the second there was a revolution. I should also mention that Ho Chi Minh was like cool with America prior to the revolution, and then there he was hoping that he would be the guy that they picked. You know what I mean?
Mm, right, right.
So
But
again, this
instead,
has all has a very fakey aspect to it. By the way, the entire dialectical conflict going on here.
yeah,
You know what I? Yeah.
yeah, we haven't even gotten to why we're there, why we went there in the first place, which is a
Mhm.
great big, you know, phantasm of a reasoning.
Domino effect. The
The
domino
domino
effect.
theory, yeah.
Domino theory. Yeah.
Shouts out to
Which
my fairly lib high school history teacher that taught me about Me Lai and the domino theory being, you know, kind of
false.
a fugazi.
But also the interesting thing again, to the extent where I was just saying, like, you lose, good day, sir. If you look at the actions of the ostensibly communist Vietnamese government in the fall of Saigon and the reunification of Vietnam under the Ho Chi Minh government, they immediately economically liberalized to what extent that the Vietnamese people were comfortable with. What a concept, by the way. I mean, I'm not to say, by the way, it's a fucking paradise. I'm not gonna pretend here that they don't have slave fucking labor
Oh,
and
they're
sweatshops
essentially
there.
it's essentially a feudal state up until, you know, the 40s, 50s, where
Oh,
the
sure. I'm saying, but
Vietnam.
after the 70s, when America withdrew and stopped giving support to the South Vietnamese,
Oh,
the
sure, yes.
the communist government of
Mm.
Vietnam immediately stopped being communist. Like
Mm.
immediately, like the second they left, America left. Like I'm not fucking kidding.
The second the last person fell from a helicopter, they said, "All right, that's enough.
That's enough of this communism LARP.
All right, everybody, everybody, go home.
And the
Take the
interesting thing
day."
is that it's a like 100% capitalist, just the typical third world garbage, corrupt,
Mm.
capitalist country
I'd
now,
like to
but
go.
it's still called the Vietnamese Communist Party is the government
Hey,
still.
why not? It's a brand, Scott.
It is. Yeah, you're right.
You can't beat a brand. All right. Um, there is something crazy about the fact that these people got launched into, you know, the
The world stage.
19th economic century economic theory up until, you know, the hyper, you know, capitalistic
Yeah.
20 millionth
They did a speed
century that
run. They
we're in.
100%
Yeah.
did fucking political theory in
Yeah,
a speed run.
that's what that's the crazy thing is the idea that these people, they fended off the great American beast just based on believing in the first thing that allowed them any sort of collective agency.
Yeah.
You know, the moment that they were able to unify into something, that was enough.
It makes me think also. I know you haven't played it, but in Fallout New Vegas, there's
I
a
played
faction.
many hours of
Okay, good.
Fallout New
Okay,
Vegas.
good. I'm glad. So Caesar, though, the character Caesar, he's just a guy who's familiar with the history of ancient Rome, and in a world where everyone else has forgotten it,
Yeah.
and he has a vague understanding of what Hegelian dialectics are, and so in he sees that there's a foe against him, which is the New California Republic, and it wraps itself in like the liberal democracy capitalism of America. And he goes, well, what's the dialectical opposite of that? Ancient Roman autocracy. And so he chooses that as his ideology almost out of a hat. So I would say that it's similar to this, where America, the French colonialist, capitalism, which is aided by American exceptionalist capitalism, imperialism. Um, the next, the dialectical opposite of that, the only thing to effectively combat that would be communism, right? Especially in an era which is dominated by this dialectical conflict. You know what I mean? It's the only option essentially. And then again, when the conflict ends, the communism melts away.
because it was purely reactionary.
Perfunctory.
Yeah, mimetic even.
Yeah. Literal. That's actually, it's not incorrect to refer to it as mimetic. It's just finding the opposite of what, yeah, the other opposing party. Now, let's move into so okay, we find ourselves in the late the early 1960s. America is becoming more involved in the conflict with the GVN, so-called the government of Vietnam, which is led by this Diem guy, who is a real rat bastard. Oh,
Mm.
and by the way, oh yeah, we'll get to that in a minute.
Oh, the
So
Higgdom too.
now the other thing is, they're at an ostensible stalemate between the North and South Vietnam, and they're actually, I think there's something um, of a armistice, similar to there was in Korea. And but however, the North Koreans, or sorry, the North Vietnamese are sponsoring something known as the Viet Cong, which is like guerrilla revolutionaries who are just embedded in South Vietnam.
Militias. Yeah.
Malicious, yeah, but it's similar to when the Chinese were roaming around, like in China, the Chinese communists were roaming around in China, just
Mm.
chilling and like doing their thing. And
Basically a conga line. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it was also it was in secret though. Basically, they were moving around, and they would fund operations by collecting taxes from the local populace, and they would make like sort of deals with them to return with food or whatever medicine later in exchange for the tax collection that they were doing. And
Mm.
also, they'd stay there for the night and hide out against um there's police and military searching for them at all times. By the way, I don't want to like make these guys seem, I don't want to lionize these guys either,
Hey,
because they seem
making them
like
sound pretty
shitbags as
cool.
well. They're probably shitbags too. I mean, this is a war. You got to understand that this is like a conflict but you must put yourself in their shoes. Is that
Sandals.
their sandals, right? You got to put yourself in their pajamas.
Put
Um,
yourself in the mud they're standing in.
which is
Sorry.
to say that the government of Vietnam, the Diem regime, is really brutal and awful, and they don't do a lot for the average Vietnamese person. And in fact, they are enriching like it's similar to it was really, really similar to the Guomindang, by the way,
Hmm.
which
Hmm.
is the elites in the cities in Vietnam were getting enriched at the expense of the lowest fucking villager, like
Yeah.
in the rice paddies. It's absolutely terrible what was going on.
You're referring to
Um,
the warlords being enriched over in China.
yes,
Folks, check out our Chinese Civil War
yeah, I
episode.
feel like they're very connected to each other.
Mm.
Um, but what I was gonna say is, yeah, so it was not good. And then, as far as there's also limited like employment situation in this world that they've created for themselves. So a way for you to actually like make a living and provide for your family would be perhaps to join the Viet Cong infrastructure. There's certain things that are afforded to you if you cooperate with this. And
That
frankly, there's a
it's
bit of nationalism bound up in it. It's like fuck the fucking artificially installed brutal military dictatorship put in place by the Americans.
Yeah, the
And
stuttering white guy in fatigues who comes along with a a Schmiegel of a interpreter to relay the message of Western salvation.
right.
Um, and these people also they do have the like you say nationalistic pride and doing the thing that they're all doing, but there's also the fact that they uh, don't really have much established in way of infrastructure to be part of the VC infrastructure so far as you
Right.
leave some rice aside, you give
Yes.
them milk, you
Yeah.
let them sleep there, it's very very
It's low key.
yeah. So
And remember, this is like when I say VC infrastructure, I mean like it's a guy who organizes like raids on American like military installations. Like they're literally an occupying army, and this guy is like sort of like a capo in the military is pars I guess I was capo in the mafia is kind of the best way I could make an analogy for it. And he goes, okay, get the guys together. We're gonna go shoot mortars at a fucking detention center with our guys in it. You know what I mean? That's the kind of operations they'd be doing. And also, by the way, this is the real purpose of this was to sort of death by a thousand cuts the government of Vietnam. It was like let them bleed resources in order to eventually have to give up the fight. And then again, this is going to come into play later, but the Tet offensives, and later the Easter offensive, were were what eventually actually cracked the entire system. Was they were hoping to be sort of grind down the South Vietnamese government with constant harassment, and then go in for decisive attacks. And finally, the Easter one was actually from the Vietnamese like military, North NVA, the North Vietnamese military had a massive offensive down into South Vietnam and actually ended up seizing Saigon. Everyone knows the famous helicopter leaving imagery. And that was a very standard non-guerrilla, but very standard military attack, which is what ended up working to end the entire conflict in toto. What did the Americans decide to do about this problem where they're having these guerrillas constantly harassing what they're trying to do in South Vietnam, which is prop up an unsustainable government that is built on corruption. And they're pumping money into this thing like crazy. Now, this is the other thing. Where did this fucking money come from? Where the fuck I'll tell you where I think it came from. This is put on your conspiracy hats, guys.
Why are you pocket watching?
This is where the NASA money was going.
Oh, shit.
That's my theory.
Yikes.
Because the way that they talk about the money that's going into these programs, building up buildings, building up prisons, dozens of prisons in each province of Vietnam,
dude,
paying for all these weapons and training and computers that are like supercomputers. They made a computer called Big Mac.
Royale with cheese.
Yeah, talk about a fucking flame broiled.
Jeez.
There we go.
Oh,
I found it. But so I'm saying, so where the fuck was this money coming from? And yeah, of course, some of it was like literal Pentagon, or Pentagon or a lot of it came from
bonuses.
AID, fucking the Agency for International Development. So it's actually immense revelation to me that the way that they just so openly report on the fact that they use this supposedly humanitarian organization to like get paychecks for Navy SEALs to run murder ops.
Well, how are you, Scott? How are you supposed to spread peace in a dangerous place?
Kill, yeah.
Kill. Blood,
So okay,
blood.
let me make this real simple here. The CIA and MACV is the like Pentagon leadership of the Vietnam situation. It stands for Special Operations Group. And they were faced with this problem that everywhere in South Vietnam there were sleeper agents for the North Vietnamese. And they would later find out that, by the way, their entire government of South Vietnam had been ferreted and completely embedded. 30%. I think there was a stat, and I don't remember which book, but 30% of any of the government of Vietnam's staffing was possibly actually a North Vietnamese spy.
We got that beat.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I mean, you want to talk about infiltration, my friend?
Well, yeah, that's true. Actually, that's right. But they all have they get through with blackmail in our system.
And yeah, but I wonder if maybe most of those people probably believed in whatever they were doing over there.
I don't know. Okay, you're right. I think they believed in a vague sense of Vietnamese
Probably
independence.
not. Yeah, that.
Well, you know what?
Yes,
No,
that.
actually, you're making a point to me now. That it's actually dawning on me. No, absolutely fucking not. They did this for money. They didn't. They did it all for money.
They did it for the money. Sorry.
So here's the thing. So you got AID, you got the CIA directly, you got the Pentagon, you got all kinds of spook cutout organizations dumping money into South Vietnam, and it's all trickling out through via corruption. And basically, there's such a moral hazard to this experiment because they were prolonging conflict by funding, first of all, the worst operations, which we're going to get into in a couple minutes. I know I've been fucking dragging it out here, but these terrible operations, but also they're creating an entire black economy throughout the entire South Vietnam that is just it's a suffering machine. Like the
Mm.
money is getting dumped in where it never would have been otherwise. And there's not like this is not like they're making money via growing fucking rice to sell on the international market. This is not them making plastic dog shit and selling it to American kids. And then this is money going in for the purpose of warfare,
Yeah.
and warfare is the product.
Yeah.
Essentially, the moral hazard is insane, and the fact that people like Dale Andrade are sitting here going, "If we just put a little more money into it, we would have done the thing." It's so fucking obtuse.
It's obtuse, Scott,
It's
is it?
obtuse.
To
No, because
begin with.
I think this guy, I don't think that guy is a big brain fucking Michael Aquino, Mr. Burns, like
Hand
a
rubbing.
theorizer. I think this guy's a true believer in the fucking. He's Sergeant Bat Guano.
Yeah,
He's not fucking. He's not. The Doctor Strangelove.
sure, sure. Yeah, no, yeah, the kind of guys who thought that by this time this year, the Vietnamese would be talking like this. Yeah,
Yeah.
and they'd be a territory maybe.
I believe
Like,
he was also a Vietnam veteran and like was a dyed in the wool true believer in the cause or whatever. So the guy who wrote the book, it
which,
checks out.
who else but those on the ground in the mud would, you know, have to have some reason for it. That makes sense.
Yeah, it's you go one way or the other. I imagine you either go yes, what we did was right, or you go wow, that was the worst thing ever. I will need to do something. I need to tell people about this.
Yeah, you're either Tom Cruise in the chair, in that movie. What was it,
Which
Born on the
movie?
4th of July?
I don't think I've seen that one.
Neither have I, but I know the thing. I
Okay,
just couldn't
it's a
think of
well known
Tom Cruise.
scene. I'm not familiar with
No!
it.
It's a funny image. You're either him or, what? Kilgore. Uh, one of these days this war's gonna end. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
But anyway, so okay, so they're presented with this problem is that they have this I think the words that you kept using is illusory and Im, un illusory and
okay.
immutable threat, which is the VCI, the Viet Cong infrastructure. And their solution for that is to I believe Robert Comer, who is the head of Back V, if I'm not mistaken,
Mm-hmm.
he said, I would like to
Corpse, I think, or Chords. Sorry.
chords. Yes, that's
Yeah.
right. We said I'd like the CIA to develop something that is instead of a shotgun approach, I would like a rifle shot approach. So, meaning we want targeted eliminations so we can, for optic reasons, we would like to limit like, wide.
Redundancies.
Yes. And
Or
so
yeah,
this
yeah.
developed the system that they came up with is called Fung Hoang in Vietnamese, and it refers to a mythical bird in Vietnamese folklore, which is like similar in Jungian archetype to the Egyptian and Near Eastern concept of a phoenix. And the idea is like the phoenix swoops down and gets one person at its specific person. It swoops down and gets one person.
I think I caught it in a lecture or something maybe that the Phoenix had some relation to The idea of being all seeing, which I couldn't find anything directly on, but the idea of something
I
that
think
if
the Vietnamese version, it was all seeing.
okay, interesting. And just the simple idea of it dies, it's back again. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It'll just keep
And it
coming.
rises out of the ashes, of course, the mythical phoenix.
Yeah, these are the guys who are playing like scary sounds over the loudspeakers.
I mean, yeah, it's
They're
literally it's Aquino. Yeah.
just yeah, they're dealing death cards. You got ears for beers. You know, it,
Yeah.
it was a real Wild West, and that I don't know if you watched some of the docs I sent you.
Some of them, yeah.
Yeah, they there was one guy, 28-year-old teacher who was a two-tour vet, I think, who was on his 20th birthday going to Rhodesia to go fight because he missed it so much.
Wow.
Ridiculous.
Um
Oh,
that
by
that's
the way, to guess who he was fighting for over in Rhodesia?
Israel, I'm gonna guess.
Oh, sure. Who
I
pays?
guess, I guess, right?
Well, yeah, no, yeah, he was,
Of course, yeah.
to
I
put
just that's the
down,
thing. I've noticed there's like this tendency. I don't want to get too off track here, but I've noticed there's this tendency for in like the controlled dissident right online sphere to be like to elevate Rhodesia as being like based. But it's like the reason they do that is because they were friends with the Jews. Like they want you to LARP as the guys who are cool with the fucking Israelis.
um, I do find it, it's a frightening thought. Not
It's spooked
every,
out to hell. It's
uh,
spooked out to hell, that fucking conflict. Not to say again, I'm a bore enjoyer, but um it's just yeah, it's dirty business.
yeah,
um
the whole thing. Yeah, how many million did it crack a billion? I don't know. There were there's a lot of dollars pumped into this.
lots of doll hairs. Anyway,
Yeah,
let's stay on track though. Yeah.
listen, the ears for beers and the napalm strikes and all that shit aside, we're just focusing on one thing today, and that is
Yes.
this one particular program and
The
what it
program,
was meant
so
for.
the way they organized it was they intentionally had layers of removal for the CIA. The CIA operated the Phoenix program, which is to say that they were the ones who created blacklists. A blacklist is a list of individuals who are suspected or confirmed VCI, and they intentionally farmed out the actual killings onto other various organizations, for specifically the police special board PSB, which was the South Vietnamese like secret police, essentially is a best probably my best way to describe it. They also created organization of infrastructure for provincial and national and regional interrogation centers. Now, and they staff these all with members of the police special PSB, special police board, and then but each one would have a CIA agent on staff in order to oversee things. He was calling the shots,
Yeah,
essentially.
yeah,
So this was a CIA operation in which they utilized South Vietnamese in order to give themselves a layer of plausible deniability. And they had them do the dirty work, essentially, even though allegedly they didn't. Allegedly,
yeah.
the CIA
No,
guys did actually do a lot of hands-on shit.
well, of course, if you love your job, you
Of
can't help
course, you
yourself.
don't have someone else do it, right?
Yeah,
And so they also formed groups called they've APT, which is Armed Propaganda. Can't remember what the T stands for. Um, but regardless, they were soldiers who went around and they would basically do reconnaissance. Essentially,
team.
they would give team. Thank you. APT is team, and they would essentially do light reconnaissance by going around and doing good deeds for the under the auspices of the Vietnamese government, like such as bringing rice to the villages and then asking questions while they're there. They also started something called the census grievances program, which was they were intending to take a census of the entire South Vietnamese populace. But did they do this just for fun? Did they do this for logistical purposes? No. What they did it for was to get rumors and or even like pieces of intel just given freely.
Mhm.
And they would make cursory efforts to say build a bridge in return for that. So they would get every single person in a village, any given village, into a tent where they would ask them, typical identifying questions, and then they would say, "What do you guys want around here? Do you need a new bridge? You guys need a new aqueduct? I don't fucking know what these kind of things that they want." The bridge was kept coming up, but regardless, then they would say, "Oh, and by the way, have you heard anything about the VCI? Have you heard anything about the Viet Cong infrastructure?" And some people who had a good relationship. It's all about people, skills here. Sometimes people would be free to give up information, and then other people would tell people false things because they didn't like other people. Which is just humanly. This is literally mimetic conflict causes this kind of thing. And this is why. And then, by the way, so what do you think? Do you think that they got all good intel? I mean, like, what the fuck? It's so obvious that this is how this all happened. People just getting into an argument in the morning could just go, yeah, well, fuck him. I'm gonna tell the fucking grievance people that this guy's a VCI, and any kind of bullshit rumor or anything could get you on a blacklist and get you dead, essentially.
That or a squad of American soldiers go on a wild goose hunt in the jungle for nothing and end up, half dead.
Grabbing somebody, exactly.
Or grabbing whoever,
That's
or
what I mean.
just,
Grabbing somebody.
yeah, or just falling into punji sticks. Yeah. It's
True.
just the whole thing is a horror, back to front. Whether or not it's this sick, um, you know, it's like this bleeding out of you know persecution and yeah
It
so
destroys social
object
cohesion. It makes
leadership.
everybody looking at each other sideways, and because there's now money being invested to find VCI.
Yes.
And another thing is, anyone who's familiar with the Vietnam War will know that during this time period, the way that they measured success was through statistics. So they would needed to get numbers up, and they got more funding based off of the amount of people they neutralized. Air quotes. Neutralized means either arrested, killed, or the surrendered,
Rallied. Yeah.
rallied. Which that could mean anything, by the way. But also they also started a program called Chu Hoi, which is a it's like a like surrender program essentially, where if you're a VCI, you could just go into the place and go, yeah, I'm a VCI, and I'll tell you everything I know, and then they give you amnesty. Now, the best thing about this was, they would the VCI would just regularly do this to get a vacation. They would go in, get a bunch of money from from turning themselves in, give them a bunch of bullshit that was completely made up, spend a few weeks with their family recuperating and eating
Play
like real
cards.
dinner. Yeah. And then go, all right, nice knowing you, honey. I'm going back to Cambodia to continue the fight.
These stupid Americans.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have French accents because of the occupation.
Fair enough. It works for me.
Stupid American. Yeah, that's very funny. That and just go figure, more money being thrown after nothing. It's literally being inadvertently fed back into the fire
Yeah,
they're
it,
fighting.
it reminds me of in the 1700s, there was a really bad cobra problem in India, and when the British were owning it. And they said, they were like, okay, what we'll do is we'll make a bounty for every cobra head you bring in for a cobra killed.
Yeah.
We'll give you 1 rupee or whatever.
Can I
So the
guess?
Indians started. Yeah, can you go ahead? Go ahead, guess.
And they started breeding cobras.
Yes, yes, they did.
Animal, come on. Oh,
It's exactly the same
sound-
fucking phenomenon, dude.
You know what's funny? I only guessed that because it sounds familiar to something else where that same thing happened. I'm
Yeah,
sure.
this
So
this fucking
yeah,
Phoenix program. Everyone wanted money, so they're like, I'll just fucking tell on the guy I don't like, and it gets
yeah.
fed into this informational intelligence superstructure, which is at the helm of which is the fucking CIA, who obviously have other things they want to accomplish during the course of this. They're
Yeah.
in the midst of MK Ultra while they're doing this program.
And who built the computer?
I think that was Mac V actually.
No shit.
Yeah, because they called it Big Mac. That's why they called it Big Mac.
DARPA wasn't there to. I
Oh yeah, of
remember.
course. You
Yeah.
know DARPA built it. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah.
Or it was like, a spooky tech company that was like a little, but cronyism going on,
Mm.
Yeah, so okay, now we haven't even talked about so they make these things called PICs, the provincial
Interrogation centers.
interrogation centers, which
Love
was
it.
again headed up by a CIA guy and staffed by Vietnamese.
Mm.
And this was a place you went to die, essentially. But also sometimes they wouldn't. It's like a total crapshoot because they would in order. Sometimes the CIA guy in charge might decide that he thinks that you'd be a better agent for him than as someone who just got tortured to death. So what they would do was they would fucking get prostitutes sometimes and then blackmail them. They'd have them fuck prostitutes and then blackmail them with the Viet Cong, with the villagers, what have you.
Mm.
And this is the most, imagine the most sadistic human being ever being given an unlimited budget and then
Mm.
told to just get numbers of people killed
Yeah.
and ratted, like
Meet
essentially.
meet a quota
Yeah.
by any means. Yeah. What
And
happens?
again, the interrogation. Oh yeah, the other thing is there's no constitution or tort, standards and common law in Vietnam. So
Is
secondhand, third-hand information based on a rumor is admissible in court.
oh great. Um, is that why that national police of theirs couldn't quite get it together?
Yeah, well, they were also
Yeah.
18-year-old kids who joined because they liked the uniform better than the military's.
Yes. Jeez, dude. Yeah, it really does come down to the stupidest things, even amongst life and death. It's,
Yeah.
no, and that just goes to show no one knows what's going on in the midst of it.
Yeah.
They're
And so I
not.
mentioned before that the government of Vietnam was super corrupt. I should also mention that because there was a large Vietnamese element in the planning of these Phoenix strikes, the Phong Hoang administration, naturally elements within the Phong Hoang leadership who were loyal to the military dictatorship who controlled the government, they would use Phoenix in order to kill political rivals within South Vietnam, and they would be like, "Oh yeah, he's a VCI. We got to get this guy."
I heard
In
this
fact,
guy.
the My Lai massacre was that. It's been definitively fucking
Yeah,
proven
yeah.
was that the My Lai massacre occurred because of elements within the Vietnamese government who wanted to kill political rivals, and it was a Phoenix. It was definitively a Phoenix operation that went awry essentially, and 500 people were killed, man, woman, and child. Very famous situation where you probably heard of it.
Yeah. Would one guy go down for that? Ultimately, I think.
Yeah, they
I
all
forget.
well, he only got
Yeah. No.
he didn't
He
even go
got
to jail or
no.
anything. Like he literally just got a dishonorable discharge.
He had community service, and that involved going to Rhodesia for a weekend and helping
Yeah,
out.
probably. Yeah.
It was too early then. No, he would have gone to when was that the late '60s, '68 was it?
Yes.
Um, well, either way, and
Yeah.
yeah, why are we here? Because the commies there.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, it just
The
comes down to
false dialectical conflict. Yeah.
comes down to uniforms, comes down to the
Yeah.
drip, Scott,
I mean, here's the other thing,
the
is like
swag.
I just love this idea that like there's like this idea that like Vietnam was only like there's a myopic sort of counterpoint towards us being sort of alarmist and negative about the American mission in Vietnam, which is like, well, what did they do it for? Just to sell helicopters and heroin?
Yeah,
Um,
or and more. No,
well, I
there's
was just gonna say
bigger returns
yes,
than that. Yeah.
and
Yes,
they
and
took the lessons that they learned from this and they use it in all future conflicts. That's all wars.
yeah,
Every war from World War One, from the Boer War on, from the Boer Wars
yeah.
on, every war has been a laboratory, and it's never been more pointedly than in the first Gulf War. By the way,
And
we gotta do an episode just on the first Gulf War at some point.
what's it cost them? Our money and
And it
our
costs nothing.
lives
Yeah,
and our lives. What would
they
they
think
give a
they think
shit?
nothing of that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, not even our lives, not even the lives that matter, on the screen, or those folks over in Vietnam. The most, uh, the meekest among us,
Yeah.
modern day serfs, uh, are the people that who are getting dispensed this Marxist ideology, just like in China, where of course it's going to appeal to a people who
Of centuries of oppression. Yeah.
yeah, well, they could take in a ham sandwich just as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Given that.
Um, so anyway, the other thing that they developed was the PRUs. So the PRU is a provincial recon unit, and this was a paramilitary group, a paramilitary unit that is comprised of the worst bastards in Vietnam. Essentially, these were rapists, murderers, people who were hitmen before the Americans ever set foot in Vietnam. These are the worst dregs of society, and they're given black pajamas and a fucking M16 by a CIA asset, and
And
they,
the Vietnamese phrase book.
yeah,
Go out,
yeah.
go
Oh no, I'm talking
forth.
about these are Vietnamese guys too.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
PRUs were primarily Vietnamese dudes,
Okay, all right.
but they were this. Well, I'm about to come to this. So then they were overseen by usually a CIA asset, which could be a plainclothes CIA guy who just is a fucking murderer, a hitman type guy, or it could be a Navy SEAL. It was quite often Navy SEALs.
Mm-hmm.
And it could also be like just like a Marine corporal, a Marine sergeant. It was all these people who are tapped by the CIA. And why were they tapped? Well, because they were fucking criminals. They were in the stockades in Vietnam for doing something very bad.
Mm-hmm.
And the CIA went and said, "We'll get rid of this case for you, but we need you to do the most violent, terrible missions on this godforsaken country."
Yeah, you're not gonna waste
If you
those
were if
guys.
they were lucky, it was going to be just a Navy SEAL who was, you know what I mean, who was a above board dude, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
no. Yeah, you'd be lucky that it's not, some guy who went in for, just snapping on his family, or his brigade, whoever he was in charge of.
Yeah,
Uh,
fragging a guy. So yeah, like
yeah.
so if a guy fragged his commander, he could find a lucrative career as a CIA attached
Listen,
PRU advisor.
listen, buddy, we get it. You're more of a follower. You're not, or a leader. You're not so much a
Yeah,
follower. We get it. All right. You want to be in a leadership role. We got something for you where you can really make a
yeah.
difference. Uh,
Yeah, I think it's interesting in that Dale Andrade book. Like utilizes the evidence that like, oh, so and so could contested or testified this at the hearings. You know, his service record doesn't even indicate he even went to Vietnam, and it's like, dude, do you really
mm,
think they're gonna leave that? They're not gonna edit people's fucking service records, and they're
yeah.
doing CIA black ops and shit,
This was,
semi-legal gray area, fucking
I,
CIA black ops.
yeah. I bet he doesn't get a pension anymore either.
Yeah, you're
After,
right about that.
uh,
Yeah, unless he continues his work on the fucking domestic Phoenix program.
yeah, unless he's part of what the controlled leak, the uh, limited hangout of whatever information they've fed to us, that, or the obvious hot points of what Phoenix was. People want to talk about blood sucking and vampires and speaker
That was
systems, but
actually in that was in the Philippines, it turns out. I was a
oh yeah,
little
yeah, yeah. No, you're right. I'm sorry. That was
but
another
the same
place.
guy worked on the Phoenix program, don't get me
Yeah,
wrong.
yeah,
You did
exactly.
that up. Yeah, I talk about that all the time in the Philippines. There was a brief insurgency period there, and they did a psyop where they drained the blood out of a guy to make it look like vampires. Because there's a in the Philippines, there's like a vampire legend there. So
Tell-
they made it look like the Americans were vampires,
Yeah,
and so you better fucking surrender.
yeah, and then all they have to see is Michael Aquino's face once, and they believe it. It's
Yeah,
very
you're Dracula, chubby Dracula.
Which, by the way, tell me that idea didn't just come from Aquino getting sprung up on by someone not knocking,
Yeah,
and he's like just
probably.
draining
Yeah.
a corpse of
Who's a
blood.
vampire?
They're like, What are you doing, Mike?"
Oh, it's a psyop I'm developing.
I'm. It's for I'm working on this thing. It wasn't ready yet. Uh,
um,
Go
oh,
hang this guy up.
one thing I wanted to talk about is in the Android book, he sort of rests his whole argument about how this was doable on the lessons learned by the British in Malaya. Which so this is like a meme kind of in the sort of Cold Warrior talking point toolbox, which is the conflict in Malaya. Malaya is a British colony, or was a British colony in Southeast Asia. I believe it's an island, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so there wasn't a brief insurgency, communist insurgency there in Malaya, British Malaya, but they were able to quell it and maintain order there. Now, and Andrade, and by the way, is pretty forthcoming with this. Is that the reason why they were largely successful was because it's an island. There's no Cambodia to sneak into and hide out. You know.
Right.
So that's really what the key difference is. Now, however, he'll
It's
also go on to say, "Oh, but they had it right. Instead of having the military deal with the insurgents, they had the police do it."
mm,
And so they increased their amount of police officers by 300% in the first year of insurgency. And by the third year of the insurgency, it was over essentially. And then they also they did forced resettlements, and they literally made everyone live in concentration camps in the entire island essentially. And the funny thing is, like, the way Andrade looks at this is like they did everything right. Nobody had to die. Of course, people went to jail, and of course there were abuses in there. But basically, nobody had to die. There was no mass killings, no fucking Phoenix program, no nothing. They did everything right, essentially. And history doesn't really remember it that way. He wrote that book in 1990, and
mm.
since then, there's been scholarly investigations into what actually happened in Malaya, and it was bad. It was brutal, of course. So they have this little fairy tale they like to tell about how, the British did it right. If we had just been able to emulate their technique
Mm.
in Vietnam, utilizing the
Back to
Phoenix
blue.
program, yeah, back to blue, right? Dude, could imagine again. This is still Southeast Asian, so they still have the propensity to be corrupt. I imagine.
Okay.
So just imagine you've just increased the police force by 300%.
Yeah.
By the way,
Oh
it
my
just means
God.
everybody's getting fucking shut down constantly.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, quotas can be met quick enough. At the end of the day, ultimately, what else are you going to do except squeeze the lemon a bit? Uh,
Yeah,
get a little juice on the side. Um, yeah, it's a cultural thing. I think that actually was addressed in the book too by Andrade. Was the that the there was a no, I don't want to say an honor system. It's not quite that. Uh, but the Vietnamese do have a much starker black and white view of yeah. But the gray area is part of that white. Yeah, it's fine. No one's getting hurt.
yeah. Oh, so you're
Both
saying,
ways.
they have a propensity for corruption? Yeah.
Yeah, sure. What are we gonna do?
Yeah. Well, it's more about. I don't think it's like so much it's something innate to their character. I think it's just like
No.
hundreds centuries of being dominated by like other racial aliens. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You end up
Yeah.
being like, fuck them. We'll just do whatever we want, kind of
And
thing, and
then
we'll
this
get
is
by.
yeah, and this is the next installment in some sort of, puppet or, paper mache government that these people are supposed to suddenly respect or treat with any kind of,
Yeah.
like permanence. Yeah, right. No. Start seeing what you can get away with on both sides
Right.
of the line. Um, yeah, that's I hate to dwell on this, but I do think that's
Please.
important is the fact that, we talk about these wars, um, you know, napalm strikes and, Colonel Kurtz and the down the river and shit, but it's really day to day, it's people are living their lives with their breath held, waiting for the next thing to happen, whatever that might
Yeah.
be. And, you know, I don't begrudge the Vietnamese much, you know, wherever they stood, wherever they were.
Yeah. No. It's hard to sympathize with like the South Vietnamese guys who are like buddy buddy with the CIA and like doing
Oh,
the terrible.
no,
Those
that's a
guys are
given.
fucking rotten.
Yeah, but even them, that's the thing is they have no concept of like how long that snake is that they're making a deal with,
You're
you know.
right.
But none of us know what we do, I
Yeah,
guess.
it's true. Yeah,
But
they don't
I
know what they do.
I keep thinking of Josh Brolin in Sicario.
I
I
hate
don't
that
think
fucking
I know
movie.
you do. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah.
But it's a pretty, straightforward. It itches the same spot for me that Apocalypse Now does, which Apocalypse Now is kind of like it's not it's not quite Phoenix, but it's the whole Montagnard
I think
army.
it's sort of within the
It's
same
tangential.
universal universe as Phoenix. Yeah, I mean, because there's a story, I think it's in Valentine actually, where he talks about a guy, several guys who basically were Colonel Kurtz with their own PRU guys out in the woods, like,
Yeah, exactly. This really was this
and his
thing that
PRU guys worshipped him essentially, like because he would, he controlled fate,
the Anthony Poshefny, whatever the hell, Tony Poe, they call him online a lot, but he was a guy who ran operations in Laos, and he had a Montagnard. I sent you a video about one of the guys that
Hmm.
worked uh ran with him. He had a Vietnamese wife, and he was like, part of the family. It's a very strange thing. The fact that these wars are kind of allowing this awful primordial uh these spots of like mold to pop up all
Yeah.
over the place, where like these guys take advantage of a horrible situation, and they happen to have they carry a certain charisma or oftentimes CIA money to go with it to, like run these are the guys who are running, heroin and shit. The guys that
Yes, I
go
mean
off.
that's how they
Yeah.
fund. That's the I know I was kind of joking earlier when I was saying that's where the NASA money was going, but
Yeah.
the real reason is they were selling heroin to America through the French Connection, and that's where the money's coming from.
We.
But anyway, I want to say that there was a really interesting anecdote. Well, first of all, I want to say this: is I mentioned before that the North Vietnamese had penetrated all levels of the government of Vietnam. And by the end of the war, at the end of as Vietnamization sort of took hold, um, by the way, if you guys don't know what that is, that's Nixon's policy to slowly withdraw from the war by having less and less American presence at all times, and instead bombing the North Vietnamese instead of doing boots on the ground missions.
They won't
Um,
even know we left.
yeah. But as that went on, it seems like, and people who are involved in the program will say this to you now, or in 1990 when the interviews took place, was that by the end, the North Vietnamese, completely had rooted into our infrastructure and they were just feeding us patsies, essentially knockdown guys, while they continue to operate autonomously, completely outside of the knowledge of the Phoenix infrastructure. So it laid bare, really, to me. By the way, again, I want you to understand what I think about this. They did not want to win this war. They were
Yes.
testing they were testing techniques with which to have a what's the word uh
Panopticon.
panopticonic
Yeah. Okay.
panopticonic counter terrorist um sort of world like control program. Essentially,
Mm.
we live under the system now, and it's
Yes. Yeah.
really driven home by the fact that Ed Murphy was a Phoenix operative, and he was the first critic of the program when he came back to America. And when he would speak about Phoenix places, he would see um, other Phoenix veterans at his fucking talks saying, I'll fucking kill you. We're gonna kill you. We're gonna fucking find you and kill you. And he said in his interview to Valentine, he says, Phoenix is in America. It's happening. And if you are a targeted individual, and yes, they use that term, if you're a targeted individual, the same system will find you and it will kill you.
Mm. It doesn't have to find you anymore, by the way.
And yeah,
In
you're
fact,
putting all your shit out online. They just need to select you. You're voluntarily submitting your data to Big Mac.
they, yeah, they can count on finding you based on where your phone is. The it's they practice this omniscient, documentation of citizens, and you know names is easy enough.
Yeah.
What they really wanted to practice was how do we classify allegiance, and
Yes.
the probability of you know turning, so
Yeah,
on.
well, also, I mean, just like in today in contemporary discourse around privacy and stuff, we already have this massive moral hazard at play constantly. With like, just imagine you had a girlfriend that you had a bad breakup with or whatever. She could just lie to the police and say he's planning to shoot up whatever, and then your guns are gone, or you're in trouble. You're in Dutch. Like that's Phoenix protocol, essentially.
Yeah,
This assumed guilt.
assumption of guilt until proven innocent.
Yes, that's where it comes from. It comes from the Phoenix program. And it's implemented by it's implemented now by domestic fucking police and FBI. Um
And but first policy, whether it be sneakily or very, very, deceptively, outwardly, like red flag laws or whatever
yeah.
have you, where they'll if they can, they're good enough at gauging public opinion. They made up the word after all, and they can figure if they need to activate a few people at a few you know certain locations to get that public
These
opinion on their
law
side
passed. Yeah.
to get a so yeah, Vietnam, cost us however many, 50 plus thousand American lives, and how, that I saw this thing, I can't remember where I read this, but as many U.S. veterans died by 1975 after the war, after leaving the war, as had died
Right.
during the war. So,
I don't
yeah,
dispute that whatsoever. Yeah.
100,000 plus. And we're not even talking Vietnamese. We're not even talking the people, maimed,
Yeah.
ruined forever. God help them. But yeah, I get. This is kind of like a thing. Vietnam is a very, very. I don't know why. It's it's a special.
It's just like
It's the heart
another.
of
It's like a
darkness.
human sacrifice. It's a human sacrifice on the altar of learning how best to
Of
fucking dominate
logistics.
human beings, like the logistics of domination.
Vietnam and the logistics of domination. Damn, that's pretty good. All right. Yeah. So, uh, with
S-
that being said, as you were saying. So
Oh
yeah.
yeah, I was just gonna say though, the next thing I want to talk about is the way that they would conduct operations essentially, which was they called them hunter killer teams was a tactic. And there was also cordon and search was the other tag. There's two main tags: hunter killer and cordon search. Hunter killer is the idea that there would be a CIA asset or a Navy SEAL or usually CIA asset would go into a place, verify a target
Mm,
on the blacklist was there, and then they would withdraw, and then they would order the PRUs to go in and kill.
mm.
Now, again, these people
April
are
Fools.
yeah, April Fools, motherfucker, yeah. And they would yeah, and again, obviously people who were not affiliated with anything were caught up in this, of course. And yeah, that's just exactly what you think. It's sometimes they would capture them, but if I in the Valentine book, he interviewed somebody who said if you were arrested, you were dead. It was the end of your life.
Mm.
Like if you
Yeah,
got
more
arrested
likely
by
like
by
that.
a Phoenix team, you were going to die in captivity.
Mm.
Or generally speaking, I mean, they had the Chuhoy program, so sometimes they if you had something that they were looking for, a piece of intel that they were looking for, you could buy your life with that.
Mm.
But
By time.
generally speaking, if you were captured by a Phoenix team, you were dead.
Mm.
So you might as well just fight.
Yeah, the horror stories too about what was done to these people in these centers.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you want to take a crack at this? What
No,
the
I
typical?
don't. No, it's just the
So
folks
there was
imagine.
females. First of all, I have to say
Ugh.
this. This seems obvious, but there were obviously female VCI, and they were all raped
Yeah.
as torture.
Now, yeah, Scott, does torture work?
No, and they knew this too, by the way. And I think they only operated on this because of the fact that it had the legal background in Vietnam was that third hand information could be used in court. So they were like, good, then we can just torture people then because then we can use that for getting numbers
Mm,
essentially.
mhm.
And again, there was also prior to American involvement, there was like a long standing tradition within Vietnamese society that torture would be part of law enforcement.
Is it, what do you call it when you leave a place without saying goodbye, but you just blow it up?
That's not an Irish goodbye. That would be an
It's
American goodbye.
a Quaker goodbye. It's the old Nixon sayonara, I guess. Um, yeah, the worst the
The
worst thing
car
about
battery. They would zap your balls with car
uh
batteries.
yeah, that general beatings and mutilations, you
Yeah,
know,
finger cut off. That's how you would be branded as a Viet Cong if you had your finger cut off.
beat your hands, beat your feet. Yeah.
Yeah,
It sounds so mundane. You know, we're kind of desensitized to this stuff just
because
talking
it's been
about it, but
introduced to us through media
sit in a
as
quiet
being
room
a
and read
yeah
this shit.
as
You know.
being like an unfortunate reality of intelligence work is that this has to be done essentially, and we kind of take it as granted. But again, it's just nasty evil. And again, it doesn't give you good intel. Anyone who
Hmm.
does this stuff will be the first to tell you that it doesn't give you good intel. But that's not what they're looking for. They were looking for numbers.
Yeah. Uh, that was the um that was the metric by which they figured the war could be, you know,
Quantified.
the odds of victory could be, yeah, quantified. And so you
Now,
and but you know, by the way, I mean the amount of operations that, you know, were did not go were the way that they were intended once on the ground, whether that had been by pure, you know, accident or literally the guys on the ground would disobey orders. You know, it throws the whole thing out of whack. You know, the idea of putting a quota to, you know, toward the success of a program, to meet it, you know, people are going to, you know, I mean,
do whatever
shit.
they can. Yeah.
Uh, you mentioned before the shotgun approach versus what was it
The
Colby?
rifle
What?
shot, rifle
Yeah,
shot. It
yeah,
was not Colby. That was Comer who said that.
Comer, yeah, yeah, and Colby was his deputy under him.
Yep.
The what kind of rifle shot is it when you can't figure the numbers between 20 and 40,000?
I don't
And
know, man.
I also read somewhere that those numbers are useless because those are only counting the people that had names on lists.
Yeah.
Yeah, so were we
They covered up so many. I mean, that you hear about the cover up of the My Lai massacre. That's 500 right there, and they didn't. They definitely didn't. They counted the one who was on the list that they killed.
yeah.
And by the way, as I said, it came out later that the guy that was on the list wasn't a communist. He was a Buddhist sect like figure. You know what I mean? Like he was a political enemy of the Thieu regime. At
Yeah.
that point, it was called Thieu. Dim and Thieu. That's another thing. These fucking names are ridiculous. There's this part they kept talking about Gingbing or Bing Bing Gingbing province and shit like, and I'm
It
like,
sounds
come
like a
on,
little
man,
baby
you're gonna call
hippo.
Bing Bing province? We're gonna really talk about Bing Bing province? Are you kidding me? Does Mario live there?
No, what was that? What's that little cute little hippo? Mudang? Mudang?
Mudang. Yeah, actually, that is a cute hippo. I love
Home of
that guy.
Mudang.
I love Mudang.
Shout out Mudang.
That's in
Stop
Thailand,
fighting.
actually.
Stop fighting. You're gonna upset Mudang.
Wu-Tang, no. Imagine everyone. That's world peace right there. We just say we can solve the fucking Palestinian crisis just by saying, Jews, please, you're making Mudang upset.
Can you put Mudang in the thumbnail?
No, we're not putting fucking
It's
Mudang in the
disrespectful.
thumbnail.
All
It's
right.
disrespectful of Mudang.
Oh, it's disrespectful of Bing Bing,
Bing Bing province,
of the
yeah.
people of Bing Bing.
Actually, I think it's King Bing, like Qing Bing.
Yeah, they have great
But it sounds like
specials.
Bing Bing province in my
Ping Bing.
ear when
Come
I
on,
keep hearing
man.
it. Yeah,
Ping
so
Bing dangerous.
yeah. Yeah, so much more I gotta get to here. But oh, so yeah, one thing I wanted to say is so all this stuff's shrouded in secrecy. We have numerous rumors of CIA MK Ultra experiments being undertaken on this obvious captive audience, pun intended, obviously,
That's not
of
funny.
political prisoners who are scooped up in this fucking net. And we can only unfortunately we can only speculate as to what that is. But if I would say if you don't think that happened, you're a fucking idiot.
You're very optimistic,
And
is what I'll say.
you're in denial if they didn't do fucking MK Ultra experiments on these guys.
Yeah,
Um,
I wouldn't be surprised if they drowned half these people in denial. Uh,
a
yeah,
little far for it to. It might be a trek to get there.
who knows?
But we'll say
Close to
this is
Nyan.
I don't want to jump the gun here. We're probably going to do another episode later on this, but like obviously there's the connections between Phoenix Program and serial killers. There's several sort of somewhat tenuous links, but however, I would say
To
again, I don't want to get
Phoenix.
too deep into this, but
Yeah.
you might be able to say that the tactics of the narcotics, sex, exploitation, and snuff film production
And
and
contract murder.
contract murder, yeah, and also just sort of CIA facilitated crime
Hmm.
murders. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like
Trafficking
whereas,
cigarettes,
yeah, cigarettes is put it mildly, yeah. But you know
untaxed
what I'm saying? Like I
cigarettes.
think the whole cartel. That's it's Phoenix tactics. It's literally
Yeah.
Phoenix tactics they use in this entire nexus of crime that we call serial murder and or drug trafficking and or let's face it, the mob. There's an
Hmm.
element of there's an element of Phoenix tactics in mafia style hitman operations, is there not?
Sure. No, absolutely. And we should not neglect the fact that ONI, Office of Naval Intelligence,
Mm-hmm.
has so much uh, dirt on their hands when it comes to repurposing, society's, you know, less charming characters.
Right.
So, and the fact that Phoenix touches all branches of the U.S. military,
It does.
it
It's like an ink stain that got on everybody's hands.
exactly, yeah. So, whoever is suitable for the program, that's that's who's going to serve its purposes, and it's not so much the the targeted assassinations and the those happened, but what continues to happen is the uh, the documentation and classification of citizens and the fostering of ideological and like personality clashes, the way that finding what will split communities
Yeah.
and fostering that.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. There's still lots of murders going on. People disappear all the time. Like
Oh yeah, I didn't. Yeah, I don't want to sound alarmist, but yeah, there's
yeah,
that too.
it's rough out there. And I just oh yeah, I said before there's the hunter killer, and then the cordon and search was they would just literally inconvenience an entire fucking village at a
Mm,
time. Basically put an entire village of people at gunpoint and say
mm-hmm,
we're leaving with somebody.
mm-hmm. Yeah. So
And
now,
sometimes, again, the VCI who were caught in this usually would fight because they know that if they're just arrested, they're going to die in an interrogation. So again, this would often result in military action, and then the PRUs would kill the targets and usually bystanders and such and such. And yeah,
yeah, it, all because they can't go back with nothing.
yeah. I mean,
They
you can't
can't
have a big
just
expensive
accept.
operation with a helicopter gunship and then
Mm,
come leave empty-handed.
yeah. Listen, we didn't gas up the gunship for nothing. All right.
And
Heads
again,
need to roll.
every head that rolls is a statistic with which they can bring back to the Pentagon and
Look,
justify their budget.
look, blood.
It's
Look,
good,
it's
right?
fresh. It's
You
still
want
wet.
results. You want results.
Hey,
Um,
the proof isn't the blood is in the pudding. Right? The proof is in the blood pudding.
the proof is in the bloodletting.
That's fun.
Uh,
Yeah, really awful. Again, never forget why for a paper tiger of
yeah,
the communist threat, the
yeah,
thing
and
that
an unpopular government too that was supposedly being held up as the fucking good guys as the baby face in this wrestling match.
yeah, yeah. Oh, and those, we should do an episode one day. Yeah, in fact, in the future episodes on this topic, we'll address what happened to these young men who came home. Yeah,
Yeah.
to
Oh
whatever
yeah.
because it was awful too. Nothing helped. Nothing was good. No one helped. It was uh, we ourselves, while the Vietnamese were being pitted against each other under uh, you know uh, made up bullshit ideological stances, it was being done to us too. And
Yeah. It's currently.
people were being primed to hate their neighbors upon returning
Yeah.
home. After going through hell, they go home and they're hated. Uh,
Yeah. That was
it's
really one of the worst parts of it. Really, is
it's
that those
really
guys.
I that the whole thing is a big open cut
Yeah.
on us.
Chonker.
Yeah, yeah,
What else do I want to talk about? Yeah. So again, some of the worst successes. I can't. This is like without just going specifics. We're going like, oh, there was many instances in which they went to a place on faulty premises and then just killed a whole family in with a knife. It just happened on a daily fucking basis.
and they did it with a knife just so they wouldn't have to kill the whole village.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah,
Yeah,
because
so what do
otherwise,
you want?
if you start shooting guns, it's gonna be a fucking kerfuffle.
We're not trying to be impolite, all right?
And yeah, counter terror we got to talk about too. So the PRUs would sometimes be induced to do what is known as counter terror operations, which is false flag operations of terror which would then be using the rumor mill and carefully placed intelligence assets would be attributed to the VCs and or the North Vietnamese army. So, for instance, the most famous story that I read was possibly the division chief, who was like an elected local village elected government person. They this counterterror units, PRUs, killed the division chief and his wife, who was pregnant, and they took the unborn child out of the woman, and they left them all like sticking on a pole, and then they created a false rumor that that was the Viet Cong who had done that. And this is a story that I think is even repeated by Andrade as true.
How about the fact
So
that
it happened.
how about the
A
fact
lot
that
of people like to say that Valentine's a fibber, and he would purposely interview
easy,
fibbers.
not with a hard R now. Come on.
But no, this was an Android confirmed account.
How about the fact that we're mutilate our soldiers are being made to mutilate their own fellow Americans' corpses for this purpose? You know,
Yeah.
that too. You know, it's surreal.
No, for sure. Yeah, there's definitely that kind of stuff going on. And but yeah, then again, the way that like William Colby like would defend all this was like, well, listen, the Phoenix program itself was just an intelligence or blacklist creation program. It was actually the Vietnamese doing all that bad, nasty stuff. And it's like, bro, that is like such a weak sauce argument. Like,
Well, it depends on what your definition of elimination is. I mean,
I gotta admit, I didn't know that Colby had a Southern accent, and I'm a little
I was
surprised. I figured he was like a Yale, like Connecticut
um,
dweeb.
yeah, actually, yeah, he does have a twang to him, I suppose.
He does. Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, yeah, didn't finish his dinner. Yeah,
He did not finish his. I mean, it's funny to think about, but because when both of these books that we read or I read, um, were written, he was alive. So it's just so funny to think about him like giving this interview and or speaking in front of Congress and just knowing that the fucking Clintons are gonna kill him in a couple of
and
years
still,
too.
and still, he did
I
not play
know.
ball well enough.
Yeah, I would. Well, we don't know what was gonna be revealed when they killed him. You know, he could have about to be come out with something. You know.
Yeah, no, of course. That, that's the thing is what I mean. Yeah, it's a strange something I ponder is what these people are willing to do. At the end of the day, it's not about money, is it? You know, they get paid well enough. The skim never ends, you know. So there's always that. There's always lecture tours, but
I think it's Jack D. Ripper stuff. You know, they're self radicalized. They believe they're high in their own supply about the communism thing, and I think like they were selected to be the people that they're selected to be in the positions they are based on their sort of adherence to the mission. If you get what I'm saying, like obviously, like fucking the Rothschilds, and like you know what I mean,
well,
central bankers and shit. They don't believe shit. They know it's all fucking fake. But
well,
I think the
that's who
people
I'm
who
talking
need to
about
do
more.
the squeezing, the people who
Mm,
need to do the squeezing, like people like Colby,
mm,
probably had sort of intellectual priors that made him susceptible to being a cog in the machine. You know.
sure, no, absolutely. That's they get elevated there,
and
you
and
know,
and
for a
people like
purpose.
Aquino is literally a fucking Satan worshiper, and that's why his motivation is, you know, and that's a form of self radicalization, wouldn't you say?
Yes, absolutely, in the
Yeah.
truest sense of the word. I was more so thinking about the spooky elite,
Oh yeah, it's
in
the
the
smoke
sense
filled
that
rums guys.
what
I don't
else
know.
is there? What else is there but legacy, you know? And if
I
you
guess they
have
think
this,
that they just need to control. They need to be like human, like they need to be the caretakers of the world, and this is how they do it.
but if they don't believe, that lives matter, that that there's do they, that's kind of what snapped me into place into thinking that there really is some like ulterior belief system here behind all of this nihilism. Yeah. Because
It's just,
why
it's
are
just
they willing to
Leviticus,
have?
dude. It's like just like you will lend to many nations, and nations will lend to you. That's what it is, man. At the end of the day,
What does that mean, Scott?
what do you
What does
mean?
that
What does it
mean?
mean? In
Tell for the
Leviticus,
folks
it
at
says,
home.
I just mean, God promised a certain group of people that they were going to be the first in the world,
Hmm.
and they think that he did, at least.
Hmm.
and uh and I guess, listen, all ends justify the means of maintaining that hierarchy, I suppose.
It's tough, spooky, scary stuff. Yeah. The idea that one would be willing to have such a grim Wikipedia page,
Mm,
just you know, that's what I'm talking about. Is that the fact that is this that long of a game? Is this like a millennia long game?
yes.
Do these people believe in reincarnation or something? That is, that we're, I don't know about Colby, but
Uh,
Aquino maybe.
yeah, he
Uh,
might. I don't know. But he's dead now. I think he killed himself, actually.
correct. Yeah, he did. Um, tragic. We can't. We could have had him on the show. I mean,
I don't know that I would like to speak with him.
I have some words I'd like to share. I
He
just need
was
four.
doing he was doing podcast appearances at the end.
Give me 4 letters, Michael. That's all I need. I got four-letter word for you. Um, the and the idea that um, this is all SOG spec op shit. This is black budget shit. This is spooky stuff. Never mind the general disarray that's being caused on the offensive fronts, on the just guys on the ground, general infantry and shit, what they're dealing with. Um, there's so many factors at play here. The whole country's being shaken at different points.
Yeah.
Um,
Another thing is, I wanted to the non-zero aspect of there's a non-zero aspect of Vietnam being like a catalyst of social change in America as well, which is, you know what I mean, like that like without the Vietnam War there wouldn't be this massive wedge issue with which to destroy the foundations of American social life in the 1960s,
are the
so I mean,
powers
like,
that
and that's
be
another thing.
willing
It's not
to
just helicopters and cocaine, man. It's the entire world was shaped by that
yeah
event.
are the powers that be willing to throw a whole nation in the garbage disposal for a decade and a half just
Have you
to
heard of Germany?
yeah, there you go, fair enough.
Twice?
Yeah, so okay, yeah, just the scope of it, just the idea that a decision could be, someone can a Quigley type can just be sitting in a dim room in a chair and think, if you want to change the public's opinion here, you can just do whatever you want to a nation somewhere over there. That doesn't really the fact that Vietnam was already sort of um, a subjugated state for time immemorial. It made sense that America could just slide in after the French had, were just sick of it, and
Yeah,
use it as it perfectly coincides with the cultural wedge, like you say. And I never considered it now until you said it, but that, that's creepy.
it is. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what else to say. It's the Phoenix program above board is nakedly an assassination, torture, terrorism,
Harassment.
psychological terrorism campaign. That's
Mm,
above board what it is. And then beneath the fucking surface, there's in the world of speculation, there's a whole world of implications that you can draw from it
yeah.
in the domestic arena of what I consider to be domestic gladio. Like
Hmm.
the idea that like there's just an inherent threat. I mean, it's all crystallized very well at the end of Program to Kill, where Dave McGowan says essentially like it's broadly speaking is just a system of unease utilizing brutal
Mm.
murder, political division, and a culture of fear that allows people to sort of cry out for more control and more susceptibility to be targeted via Phoenix style fucking
Yeah.
tactics, man.
It's why
So
people, they're afraid to go to the supermarket. They're afraid to go to a concert. You know, it's these little things. Oh, I can't send my kid to that school. It's dangerous.
wow, wow.
What?
There's other
No, no, not that.
non-government reasons to
No,
not send your
no,
kids to certain schools.
no. It's dangerous. Look, they have a cop outside.
Okay, all right,
No,
gotcha.
it's like
Yeah,
what? What do you mean? It's the best
they
chance you
all have
got.
cops at them now. Schools.
Yeah. But my point being the culture of fear, like you
Oh
say,
yes, of course.
is
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, the whole stranger danger thing emerged out of, in my opinion,
mm,
a system of government, funded and aided child kidnappers.
yeah.
Like it's just what spurred on the cultural change that adults are now afraid for their children are fucking CIA
Yeah.
assets doing
Yeah.
the kid stealing.
That's holy shit. Yeah, you're right. Dude, the idea that they had to have an answer for, a lot of our kids are going missing. Horrible things are happening to them. Why is this? And they had to have something, so they say, "It's you guys.
Yeah, people
Look
just
out.
do that
It's hit.
sometimes.
It's some, look to
Could
the
be
left, look to
you.
the right. Could be.
It could be you.
Why are you asking that, sir?" Uh, yeah, no, it's the idea of when a scapegoat is required, when an answer is asked, that they need to, a question is asked, why is this happening? It's
The solution
condu
is always more conducive to what the overall program was to
and
begin with.
yes,
Yeah.
perfect. Yeah, in order to, you have to keep the ball rolling, and that would mean turning people's natural urge to protect themselves, their children, their families
Right.
against their neighbors. Make
Yeah.
com- you know
Hyperatomization. It helps.
mhm.
Anyway,
Ugly,
it's a
ugly,
dirty, dirty
crazy.
stuff we don't like talking about. But
Go for it. We're gonna
it's
have a
it's
fun
it's
episode next
necessary.
week.
We do have a fun episode next week. It's a nice literary return to literary criticism. I'm
Litter
enjoying. I'm looking.
retards.
There we go. There we go. All right. So, anything else you want to say before we get out of here? I feel like there's always something I always go, fuck, I forgot to say. Blah, blah, blah. I can't remember what it is, but I don't know what if I have one this time. But do you got anything you definitely wanted to say that you didn't?
I think I managed to blurt out everything I needed to get out over whatever you were trying to say much more concisely and eloquently. I think I got it all out.
Well, you don't have to kiss my ass, but
Listen, buddy,
thank you
I
for your
ain't
help.
nowhere near your ass. I'm in the Nang.
Um, yeah. Oh, wait. There's something's come back to me now, actually.
There it is.
Oh
Have a
yeah,
vent.
yeah, 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 yeah. I forgot to mention that all this money that's getting funneled into for the purposes of the Phoenix program meant that more weapons were being funneled in, which meant that the amount of corruption just can't be overstated. And they would sell the fucking Vietnamese would sell weapons to the North Vietnamese that were brought there for Phoenix operations. You know what I mean? Like there'd be people within the the Fung Huang organization who were pocketing fucking weapons with which to sell to the Vietnamese, the North Vietnamese. And then another thing was like they was part of the program was also they a statistic that they could tout in order to show that they were succeeding was captured weapons from Viet Cong.
Yeah.
And they
Look, they're
allegedly
brand
the
new.
the total number of collected weapons was 100,000 during the course of the whole program. And but in reality there was only 50,000 weapons in the armory at the end of the program, meaning they were all at least brought in once additionally. Each one they were counted twice because they would get out again and then they'd bring them back in.
Oh man.
And there was bounties for them. This is like this is the thing. It was just this money leaking into the
Mm.
country with the again, it's not an industry. The industry is war. The industry
Oh
is
my
human
gosh.
suffering essentially.
Scott, this was no, Scott. You're looking at it all wrong here, Scott.
The GDP is massive,
Scott,
dude. A
they
lot
gave
go
this
up.
country stonks, baby. Scott, you gotta understand this. They gave this country the kickstart it needed. All right,
Yeah, they
we're
pulled
talking.
themselves up by their fucking slippers,
We're
fucking
talking
slipper straps.
an angel loan. All right,
Yeah.
just a little something for you. Don't worry about paying it back.
With the added benefit of heroin coming out of there in order to with which to poison the American people with.
Oh my gosh! Listen, if you do this for us, you can do something else for us.
Yeah. Oh, there was a story. There was a guy. I think his name was William James. I'm not sure if that's his name, but it's William something. And he was actually he had some of the best stories, and he was in the Karen Silkwood case.
Mm,
That's a great episode, by the way, with Richard
Richard.
Richard Booth.
I thought, okay, nice.
Yeah.
Check it out.
But anyway, one of the guys who was a investigator for the Karen Silkwood case, among other fucking parapolitical cases, I should mention, he was a CDI CID, sorry, CID officer for the Marines, which is like sort of like the military police. It's sort of like the FBI for the police, or FBI for the military. And he was doing, you know, investigations in while he was in Vietnam, and he has a story. He has an anecdote in the Valentine book about how he was his informants had been telling him that there was an American and a Korean guy who were doing war crimes and just fucking people up terribly, murdering people wantonly. And he finally tracks this guy down, and it's a Phoenix operative, a Phoenix CIA attached Phoenix operative, and he tailed them one day in Da Nang, and he watched them randomly chuck grenades into a Vietnamese patronized diner or restaurant, like a nice restaurant in Da Nang, with these GVN connected people in it, and just chuck grenades and then and left. And he actually caught them and brought them in to CID headquarters, and tried to, you know, go after them in his capacity as a investigator, military conduct investigator. And his commanding officer let them go and actually sent him back to America over it. And by the way, while he was there, he heard inside the CID office that the attack that he had just caught them for was being attributed to North Vietnamese. So Viet
Of
Cong,
course.
of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, yeah, now the question from there is, do they do that? Do they assign that label after the fact, or were those, yeah,
That was always going to be what it was. Yeah.
like, do those guys go out and come back and say, "Hey, listen, by the way, we have a good night." Oh, almost forgot. I threw some grenades into a diner. It's on, I'll write the street down for you. I'll get it to you tomorrow, and do whatever with it.
I imagine the whole thing
You
was planned.
or that.
Probably, I think it was. I think it was more. It's sinister, even. Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
It was that. It was intentionally. They needed some political optics, I guess, would be what I would say. They needed the optics to be such that
yeah.
the Viet Cong were vilified for that moment.
The front
And
page of Stars and Stripes was looking a little bleak
yeah,
that
yeah.
week. They had to jazz it up.
I mean, it makes me think, of course, of like these mass shootings and shit too. By the way, because we know all these mass shootings, nearly universally, these people are in contact with FBI, FBI, people in Discord, um, and you know, it's the same exact tactic that was used during the Patriot Act era, like the War on Terror era, where they would just get dum dum Muslims to do whatever so they could capture them and say we got a scalp.
Yeah.
Um, they also named a program after one of the a bounty program after the guy in Blood Meridian, if I'm not mistaken, who was the one who was paying people for Indian scalps.
No shit.
Yeah, the real guy it was based on. I mean, like not
Oh,
the fictional one in the book.
oh, the governor, yeah,
Yeah,
right
I don't
of
remember the names,
Chihuahua.
guy, but they named a squad of a mercenary of PRU guys after that guy.
Crazy man. Oh, that's so dark, dude. And that's, I mean, just the death cards, the beheadings,
Yeah,
McNamara's morons. I almost forgot. Holy
yeah,
shit! Talk about just blood sacrifice, dude. Just
yeah. Well, what was
throwing.
that? I didn't hear that story. What was
You don't
that?
know anything about, dude? Literally, like sub 80 IQ guys,
Oh yes, yes, I do know about this. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
all
yeah.
shuffled into one, whatever they you want
Unit,
to
and they all
call it.
got died. Yeah.
No, no, they actually were heroes. They all survived. They got to the hill. They put the flag. They say they won the war for us. Actually,
I'm so glad they did. Oh,
yeah.
one last thing. I have a quote here from the uh from
That
the
was actually
Android book.
they were the guys who threw the grenade in the time.
Maybe, yeah. All right, so here's a quote from Android, by the way. So this is the guy who sort of like is doing thinly veiled apologia for the entire program. But it says finally the Phoenix program was stated in the directive to be unclassified, at least the name and acknowledgement that the program was aimed at the VCI. Actual operations were classified confidential, and the details were not to be discussed with unauthorized persons. I want to pause in the middle of this quote here and remind people who don't know. Classified confidential is the lowest level of classification in the military. A private in the army is classified confidential clearance. Um,
So ask
Continuing.
questions, people. Ask your friends
Considering
and
the nature of the program and that the Viet Cong were expected to react violently to the Phoenix program, the low classification level was unusual. Now, it'd be unusual to someone who thinks that the purpose of the Phoenix program is to win the war.
mm,
However, we know that it was not. The purpose of the Phoenix program is a terror campaign in order to strike fear into people and get the maximum emotional response. So that's why it was spoken about so easily and was so low level classification. That's why. Oh, another thing is, um, oh, I'm glad
and
I kept going. I have a bunch of
yeah,
talking points I forgot
but
wanted to get to.
and that forward facing, abhorrent, aspect of it is the perfect cover for, even worse. If that's
Yeah, of
what it is on
course.
paper and everyone,
And
disowns
then
it after the
the secret parts could be very bad. Yes.
oh boy.
So one other thing is this is the last thing I wanted to say. Um, but I mentioned before is that by the end of the war, North Vietnamese had basically figured out the Phoenix program and they're feeding them false leads essentially. Um, and to the extent that there was an anecdote from a guy, I don't remember what his name was, but he said that he had an informant guy who within the VCI who had told him that oh, so the guy that we're looking for, that's his wife right there. They were in a city and he goes, that's his wife. And the spook, the CIA guy said, "Oh, great, let's just follow her and fucking we'll get the guy." And the Vietnamese, the informant guy goes, "You don't get it. You think about you're leaving this place. I have to stay here when you're gone. Do you really think I'm gonna fucking go? I'm gonna go and kill this guy's wife, and then or whatever, or capture her, and then use her to get to this guy and kill him? What do you think's gonna happen to me when you leave? They're gonna kill my wife." So that just states how naked does it need to be is that the Vietnamese, South Vietnamese who are participating in this murder campaign are fully admitting to you that they won't really go the distance if it's going to have repercussions on them. So how can you earnestly say that if we just worked a little harder, we could have won?
Yeah.
When you
The whole
know that
country
the whole
is
country
against them.
doesn't give a fuck. They're just squeezing the money that they can out of this thing because they're in a dire situation that is imposed on them by the fucking winds of geopolitics, essentially.
Yeah.
It's obtuse. I said it before. It's obtuse to think that
Gee.
that this if this has just been done differently. And again, it's just so silly to me that you would think that it could ever just work or that that it was worthwhile to be in Vietnam. Like
Yeah.
you must have such a fucking you must be so brainwashed by the specter of communism to think that kind of shit, you know?
Mhm. Yeah. No, God help me if I ever get in one of those conversations with somebody. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
someone who's the commies.
Yeah. Oh, just I talk to old people a lot. Yeah. And if I ever came across a
Tough sledding.
dude, did you see that Marine Reacts video?
I did not watch that. It was the one I
Oh,
didn't get to.
brother. Oh man,
Was
it's
he
tough.
like what? So what was he saying? Was he saying like, if I was there, I would do.
Not well, in a way, because it's about 20 minutes of him saying three things over and over again, which are basically in war and also you know, that's just the way it goes. And
Good
other
for you, man. You have no fucking moral compass. Congrats.
yeah, it's oh, it was a British narrator to this thing he was reacting to, so he says, it's real funny. These people think that they can tell us, how we
Do you think the British had nothing to do with this? You fucking moron. British intelligence was massively involved. And by the way, the CIA guys were just English.
some of them were named Jesus.
Yeah,
Uh,
some. Well, I think he preferred to say Jesus, though.
I would not honor that request. Um, what else? I mean, yeah, I forgot what I was talking about.
That's pretty much what I
Thinking,
wanted to get
thinking
to. I
about
think we're good. I
Angleton.
think we're good. We got enough. We got enough. We will
What a
continue
mess.
this line. Well, this is a further investigation into dark underbelly of domestic gladio. And we need to
Yeah.
understand the foreign gladio before we can look at the domestic gladio. So thank you for listening yet again. I hope you were informed and entertained by this episode. I did quite a bit of research into it. And as always, I don't know if I've said this enough on the show, but if you'd like to sort of pick my brain or just sort of have a lively discussion about this topic or any topic that we cover on the show, please come to the Telegram group and just start yapping about the subject. I'm very happy to continue the conversation from beyond the podcast. This stuff doesn't leave my head, unfortunately. It's unfortunately baked into my brain and I can't get rid of it. Probably to my mental detriment. But again, I feel like it hasn't been as lately. Let's be real. It's a group chat, so it's going to be social in nature. It's mostly going to be us talking about our weekends and stuff, our weeks at work and stuff, and sharing memes. But occasionally, and I think there should be more of this, is we should continue discussing the show more, or the topic of the show weekly. And don't get me wrong, it does happen, but if you, the listener, haven't joined the Telegram group and you need motivation, that would be one I could give you, because I'm happy to yak all day about whatever historical topic. Seriously, I'm very happy to do so. And so I'm talking about Telegram group t.me/historyhomos is the channel, but the chat is t.me/historyhomos. Chat is the chat. And yeah, please check that out. It's also in our link tree and all that stuff. So please come join that. And it's at time of recording still the friendliest place on the internet. Oh, but I hasten to say, when you get in there, immediately establish yourself as a podcast listener and not an Indian scammer. And we do ask you to say a racial slur to prove it.
Yeah, you better not
But
be
anyway,
one of them commie,
commie Indians.
I already
Yeah.
can't say Galman, Gyomandang,
Guomandang.
Guomandang. There it is.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's already leaving me. This pronunciation.
Yeah. So, but yeah, so yeah, I mean, you can check out the show if you want to see the video version of the show. We're available on, www.historyhomos.com for the RSS feed. We're also available on iTunes, Spotify, BitChute, Odyssey, YouTube, Rumble, and that's
eBay.
it. Yeah, sure. And but yeah, to get those places to see the show, and yeah, just go check it out. Oh, but most importantly, if you like the show and you want 100% more of the show, check us out on Substack, www.historyhomospod.substack.com. In addition to the main episode, you can also see a bonus episode every single week, and it's not just some bullshit, what's new with you stuff. We do a topic every single week, and it's great content. So if you like the show, that's not only the best place to support us, it's also the best place to hear more of it. So again, that's historyhomospod.substack.com. Please help and support us. We appreciate you, and thank you for listening. As always, die with dignity. Oh yeah, if any questions, comments, or concerns, email me at historyhomos@gmail.com. And also, if you want to buy a t-shirt, that's the way you should do it. Send me your size and address. And yeah, so die with dignity. Patrick, what do you want to say as your sign off for this episode?
Good night, Vietnam.
Later, homos.
Where the black tape hums a code, silver needles thread between what the ghosts of Saigon know. Soft alarms and mirrored eyes, powdered faces, iron grace, young romantics in disguise, dance in shadows of the CIA. And we whisper through the static, operation, operation. Cold hearts dressed in velvet black, the phoenix learns assassination. Perfumed skin, Morpheus breathing through the green, striking puppets from within in a war that stayed unseen. Gloved hands on dossiers, shades of crimson in the rain. No winners, only resumes, paper trails of quiet pain. And we whisper through the static, operation, operation. Cold hearts dressed in velvet black, the phoenix learns assassination. Names on lists like fading stars, crossed out one by one. No flags, no glory, just memoirs under an artificial sun. So paint another mask tonight and dance.